No one talks about what happens after you get everything you want. We spend our lives moving towards something: relief, clarity, completion, believing that once we arrive, something inside us will finally settle. But there is a moment most people never notice. A moment after desire goes quiet, when nothing is chasing you anymore, and time begins to stretch. In that stillness, nothing arrives. No revelation, no peace, just the sound of your own thoughts echoing back without interruption. At first, it feels empty. Then it feels loud. And eventually, it feels unbearable. This is where most people stop moving. Not because they are trapped, but because movement would require friction. And friction would force a question they've avoided for a long time. The cave doesn't argue with you. It doesn't contradict you. The shadows repeat. The walls stay where they are. What you believe today will still feel correct tomorrow. And there is a strange comfort in that. Over time, the darkness stops feeling like a prison. It starts to feel like shelter, not because it protects you from danger, but because it protects you from uncertainty. Eventually, you stop asking whether the cave is real, because real or not, it feels familiar, and familiarity has a way of replacing truth. The cave doesn't feel like a prison at first. It feels predictable. And predictability lowers the cost of existing. You know where to sit. You know what to expect. You know which thoughts are allowed to stay. The walls do something subtle. They filter reality. They decide what reaches you and what never does. And slowly, without noticing, protection turns into preference. What we call comfort is often just the absence of friction. No resistance, no interruption, no reason to reevaluate who we've become. Inside the cave, nothing challenges you. Nothing asks you to justify your beliefs. Nothing forces growth. And for a while, that feels like peace. But the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to imagine anything else. Leaving no longer feels like curiosity. It feels like threat. Not because the outside is cruel, but because the cave reshaped you to survive inside it. You begin to defend the walls. You explain them. You rationalize them. You confuse familiarity with necessity. Eventually, the cave is no longer where you live. It becomes how you think, how you judge, how you decide what feels real. This is why people fight for systems that confine them, why comfort is defended more aggressively than truth. At some point, a crack appears, not a doorway, not an escape, just a thin interruption in the pattern. A place where the shadows don't behave the way they used to. This is what people call awakening, not clarity, but disturbance. Something stops aligning, something feels off. The mistake is believing that seeing more automatically frees you. It doesn't. It only removes the comfort of not seeing. The cave prepared you to survive inside it, not outside it. So when the light changes, it doesn't feel like opportunity. It feels like exposure. What waits beyond the cave isn't comfort, it's responsibility, unfiltered information, contradiction, choice without guidance. Inside the cave, your role was clear. Outside, nothing tells you who you are supposed to be. This is why many people turn back. Not because they were wrong, but because they were unprepared. They mistake the pain of adjustment for proof that the cave was right all along. The cave welcomes them back, same walls, same shadows, same certainty. And now the cave doesn't just feel safe, it feels correct. The cave was never just a prison, it was a structure, a rhythm, a way to reduce the chaos of the world into something survivable. Inside it, nothing surprises you. Nothing demands too much. The shadows repeat themselves, and repetition feels like safety. Outside the cave, things do not repeat. Light changes, sounds arrive without warning, meaning is unstable. And that instability feels like danger. Not because it harms us, but because it asks us to decide who we are without instructions. This is why leaving feels like loss, not liberation. The cave gives us an identity without effort, a role without choice, a story already written. And when someone questions that story, it feels less like insight and more like an attack. So we defend the cave, not because it is true, but because it is familiar. We protect the chains because they explain us. They tell us who belongs, what is normal, and what should never be questioned. Comfort over time becomes loyalty. The most effective prisons are not locked from the outside. They are reinforced from within. We decorate them. We justify them. We teach others to love them. And eventually, the idea of leaving feels immoral, even dangerous. This is the final illusion, that awareness automatically frees us. It does not. Seeing the cave does not remove its gravity. It only introduces a choice. And choice is heavier than chains. So the question is not whether you live in a cave. The question is simpler and more uncomfortable. If you stepped outside, even briefly, would you know who you are without the shadows to tell you?